Hey, what's up everyone? It's Oakley, and it's been a little while since I uploaded some more content onto this gaming channel. I've been mostly focused on stuff on the main channel, and I think you'll see that it bears fruit. We've been covering a lot of cool stuff in terms of history. But now back to gaming content, I was made aware that Rome 2 is getting an update. It's going to be called the Ancestral Update, so I think you all are going to be very happy with what this entails. The main image here is going to be that of a tree, and that is alluding to the fact that one of the main additions here from Ancestral Update is going to be the addition of a family tree. So that's what this is, as I said, alluding to. We can go over to, take a look at the FAQ here for all the details, or the FAQ, I should say. But first, let's take a look at the video that they went ahead and put out, just so we can see this in game. And then we'll go over, dive through the details, and then what we'll also be doing is covering some additional tidbits of information people have in terms of a new DLC also on the way for Rome 2. But here they're showing some of the new tech that they've introduced, definitely improved the graphics of the game. The one here for the night battles is a huge improvement for me. Before, it looked so gimmicky. When I was filming my documentaries, I never wanted to film at nights because it looked so bad, but now more natural lighting. Also, the addition of the tree clipping is great. And then finally here, we see the introduction of a family tree to Rome 2. Everything this game needed, almost 5 years on at this point. So definitely awesome to see this added. They're also doing all sorts of overhauls to the agent skills, etc., much more neatly presenting it with different tiers, etc. They've introduced new actions, and all of this we'll be seeing in a brief instant. They're also going to be changing the fact that you can, dive into this in beta, and there's tons of additional stuff here that they're crediting on the screen. And yeah, that's most of it. Just a really quick video that CA did put up there, but let's go back to the main blog that covers most of the details here. So like I said, you can actually go ahead and access this update right now through, I believe, just beta. And CA is requesting feedback for any bugs that you may notice, or, any feedback is welcome as they continue to tune this. But overall, this is really, really awesome. So the main one is going to be the family tree here, as you can see. So slightly different from what we've seen previously, but the end goal is quite the same. It looks really neat and clean. And then you can manage your characters here, and they've tried to add a bit more depth to it in the sense that now you can trigger these intrigue events. So if you look down at the bottom right where there's, the intrigue there, basically as you select a character and they have different levels or they achieve different things. So for instance, here they talk about intrigue having different requirements. In order to do these various intrigue events, you have to reach the threshold, and then once you do it, you'll be able to interact a bit more fluidly with the campaign and really take hold of politics. So I like this. This is taking a lot from sort of the paradox way of doing things, where you really want to bounce off different characters, have them interact, and do all kinds of things like that. So I really, really like this, the fact that CA is finally fleshing out this element of it, and I think it bodes well for the future of the history titles. There was a little moment where we did get to see in the video a bit of the intrigue. Let's go ahead and click here. So there you go. For instance, right now they show us embezzle funds. So this is one of the things you can unlock. If you go ahead and do this, it'll give you more gold for your personal factions, coffers, but in return, decreased loyalty for all other parties for 4 turns. So a lot more consideration that you have to give this. It looks like another one here is to gain some popularity in perhaps the Senate. Some of them having to do with military conditions. Perhaps this one here with the sword is with a triumph. I'm not quite sure, but anyways, more just tools in our toolkit for interacting with the campaign map and others, which is always something that's definitely well liked by the community, and especially when it comes to a game as old as Rome 2. I'm so happy they're adding more to it. And like I said, we'll be talking a bit about more coming in terms of Rome 2 when it comes to DLC. So yeah, that's it for, let's see, the family tree, the intrigue. We covered a little bit of it. There'll be more details, but I just want to give you an overview of what we're discussing here. Okay, here they talk a bit about, should I disable mods? Yes. For the time being, because it's going to be incompatible, etc. And then they're telling us where we can log our issues when we encounter them. But finally, we do get to the patch notes. So here it's a lot of stuff that we did see in the video. So agent skills have been completely reworked and rebalanced and now are culturally specific. They have more actions, some of them having significant new effects. I'm eager to dive into that. General skills have been tuned to the culture. Skill cards, reinforcement range is now made more clear. Technology panels now have sounds. This is a big one for me because I'm mostly spending my time in battles, is the fact that in battles, ships that have docked will now automatically disembark. This is a feature that we saw in Attila and Thrones of Britannia that was really necessary when it comes to not clogging the beaches with your ships. So this is going to be awesome. Here they talk about, tweaking to the champions, to skill levels of agents, tweaking battle loot, more variety of generals in Empire Divided, and upping the number of household ancillaries as well as character traits. So all kinds of cool new stuff, and this is a lot more than I was expecting, so this is very, very welcome. Visuals here, all kinds of additional benefits, stuff we saw in the video, clouds and shadows in general being shown much better. Okay, cool, so you can hide dead bodies if you do want to, not have that clog some of your computer graphics, but I always leave those. Hide foliage is a big one, something that I think they introduced for the first time in Warhammer. Definitely necessary when you're playing in the forest and anything multiplayer related. This is a godsend, so that one's awesome. And you can toggle it on and on. More terrain noise in the distance so that stuff doesn't look like a flat plane, and that it's going to be really beneficial to me. I'm a little bit partial in the sense that I like to film in the Total War games to make documentaries, and I'm sure this terrain noise will make it a bit more believable when I try and get my glamour shots in there. More improved shadow quality, heavy rain effects, and some alterations where you get thunder, reduced terrain and grass reflectivity, and rainy weather. That was a big one where it looked like everything was covered in a shiny tarp. So glad they improved that. Improved night lighting. We saw that in action. Definitely looks better. Reflections are improved. Trees on the tactical view are no longer very obviously rotating towards the camera. That's something I noticed as well. So yeah, overall really cool. And you can take a look at the map here. The one before, too saturated, whereas now it looks a lot milder, greener, not as stark. So I really like the new coat of paint that we're seeing on that. God, this is awesome. Take a look at this as well, the before and after on the reflection there. Definitely looking great, more up to par with what we've seen in the latest Total War titles. So not only reflecting material, static material in the game, but I think I did see a patch note as well that ship reflections as well are going to be updated. So it looks like they're updating the reflection model in general. So that's going to be awesome. And then here's the night effects of the previous one. Yeah, where it looks like there was LED lights, and now it's a much more natural dynamic lighting taking place there. It's not flat like we saw here. So overall, very, very excited to see that. They've addressed a number of bugs here. Some of them were more interesting than others. So for instance, this one here, missile range bonuses now actually work. So that's going to be a big one. I'm not quite sure if that applies to like upgrades to units or if it has to do more so with positioning on the battlefield, having height actually give you an advantage in bonus. Not quite sure how that works, but glad to see that they're still going in and addressing some complaints. I did see someone in one of the Reddit threads mentioning that they fixed spaghetti lines, but I have yet to see that called out explicitly here. I really do hope that that is the case, because that is one of the outstanding issues that we have when it comes to multiplayer. Let's see, for battle AI, general addresses to troop clustering, AI prioritization around capture points, some things that would cause it to not attack or move forward, etc., blah, blah, blah. This is a fairly big one. Shield wall, hoplite wall, and testudo will not be broken by the fast move command. So basically that means that when you give your orders by default, it's going to be run, and typically that would break whatever formation you had. So now units are going to stay in formation. Should help overall with the micro that you need to employ. Gameplay improvements, so tweaking the female cursus honorum. Additional things, I don't want to go over all of this, I'll let you dive into this, but overall it's looking great, and still some outstanding known issues that they have thus far, but again, CA is imploring us or begging us to go ahead and help them scour for more known issues so they can address these in a potentially a hot fix, or even in this main Ancestral update when it comes to it. So that is it with the scope of this Ancestral update, but like I was teasing here, there was a little bit more information that we can go ahead and cover, and this is going to be what someone on the Total War forums basically found out when they were poking around in some of the game files. So basically, I think what Benjin here, is confirming that by looking at the files, he found something that's, sniffing around, looks like it's the second foundation of Rome. Characters like Camillus, Dionysius, Brennus, Archytas being mentioned, along with new skin assets for them. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, we'll have to wait for an official trailer, but if you're wondering what the second foundation of Rome is, this is referring to the event basically in 390 BC when Brennus, and he's mentioned here, so he was a leader of a barbarian group that came down the Italian peninsula, leading the Senones tribe, I believe, defeated the Romans at the Battle of Alia, and ended up sacking Rome. So that was the famous sacking of Rome in 390 BC. Rome at that point was on the verge of being snuffed out, but then you have Camillus who comes in and he kind of helps, Rome, while they stand out in the city of Rome, they hold the top hills of Rome. Capitoline Hill, I believe, is fortified, and they defend it. Brennus is on the low ground, so the Romans hold out to the last. Finally, Brennus is repulsed, in part due to, I think, some kind of like pestilence or plague that hit his troops, but then also the arrival of Camillus with some more Roman soldiers as well were enough to push back Brennus. So Camillus here is going to be, I believe, later on in Roman history, the one who is credited with being the second founder of Rome after Romulus. So that is his title. So that's what the second foundation of Rome there is alluding to this period in time where you have Rome being sacked, and then after that it recovers, rebounds, and then continues its history. So potentially this means that we might get a mini campaign centered around the Italian peninsula, which would be cool, focusing around these particulars. And what's pretty exciting about this is, well, after the second founding of Rome, Romans get quickly back into the action. So like I said, the sack of Rome is like 390 BC. But after that, you have the first of the Samnite Wars in 343 BC. And like I said, there's going to be 3 of them. So right off the bat, this is in and of itself a perfect moment in time to go back and revisit in a mini campaign with all sorts of stuff going on in the mix as well. You know, between the Samnite Wars, you also have the Latin League that's forming up and tries to take down Rome. That's going to be the war with the Latin League, and I believe in 340 BC. And Rome finally defeats them, puts them down, and then expands its kind of power base. So all of that is going on. So you're going to be seeing a lot of potential faction building and wars taking place all throughout the Italian peninsula. So this second foundation of Rome is going to be very interesting, and it may actually finally push me to go back and do part 2 in the evolution of the Roman legions, just because if I do make that second video, I believe it will finally get us to the time period that gets close to this, so may be relevant again. I know I've put that series on hold for far too long, but it does take a long while to produce. So this may be the thing that pushes me over to pushing and covering that episode and finishing it finally. If I don't go ahead and do that, and if this is confirmed, then I'll find another way to bring the history to life. Maybe we'll do spotlights on Camillus, the sacking of Rome, etc. So yeah, all of that, stay tuned for more. Couldn't be more excited for this. I love the Roman era, and especially the Rome 2 game with all the additions that they're making here. This is very, very awesome, and I can't wait to see what additional content they bring us with this second Foundation of Rome DLC. Presumably, they're going to be introducing even more features for Rome, and as we know, whenever they introduce new DLC, the money that goes, that's generated from that DLC pushes for updates to the core game, and that can be then pushed into the base game for everyone. So yeah, it looks like Rome 2 is going to be getting some more life down the line, and who knows how many more times they'll be coming back and dipping into this time period. But overall, very good news. So that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you guys more gameplay here soon. But in the meantime, definitely head on over to the main channel where I'll continue pumping out the history. So yeah, see ya. Peace out.